Leader of the Opposition, Sir Keir Starmer.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was challenged in Parliament on Wednesday, December 6, over a new treaty signed with Rwanda to deport asylum seekers to the East African country. Opposition leader Keir Starmer dismissed the government's latest plans as a gimmick, saying the deal would allow Rwanda to send its most vulnerable refugees to the UK and require the UK to fund accommodation and living expenses for migrants deported to Rwanda.
Article 19 of the treaty says the parties shall make arrangements for the United Kingdom to resettle a portion of Rwanda's most vulnerable refugees in the United Kingdom. So how many refugees from Rwanda will be coming here to the UK under the treaty?
Well, it's a point of pride, Madam Deputy Speaker, that we are a compassionate country that does welcome people from around the world. But let me just get the honourable gentleman up to speed on what we are doing. Reduce the number of illegal arrivals from Albania by 90%. Increase the number of illegal working raids by 50%. Because of all the action, we've taken the number of small boat arrivals down by a third, Madam Deputy Speaker. But what is the honourable gentleman's plan? Because it comes down to he just simply doesn't have a plan to address this problem. But no, I'm probably being unfair because he does have a plan. It's to cook up a deal with the EU that would see us accept 100,000 illegal migrants.
When we send people there under this treaty, we have to pay for their accommodation and their upkeep for 5 years. And that's not all. This morning, a government minister admitted that anyone we send to Rwanda who commits a crime can be returned to us. I'm beginning to see why the Home Secretary said the Rwanda scheme is something to do with bats, I think, wasn't it?
Mr. Speaker, Madam Deputy Speaker, sorry. This about is ensuring that the concerns of the Supreme Court have all been addressed in a legally binding treaty that will allow us to operationalise the scheme. But I'm glad he raised the topic of legal migration, which I agree is absolutely far too high, Madam Deputy Speaker. That's why this week we've outlined a plan bigger than any other government before to reduce the levels of legal migration.
The scheme is at the center of the government's strategy to stop illegal migration and is being watched closely by other countries considering similar policies. Britain intends to send thousands of asylum seekers who arrived on its shores without permission to Rwanda to deter migrants making the dangerous journey across the Channel from Europe in small boats. Sunak also said he had called on his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu to ensure international humanitarian law was being respected in the ongoing conflict in Gaza.
What support will Britain offer to the International Criminal Court to conduct investigations into the conduct of all parties in Israel, Gaza and the West Bank before and since October the 7th?
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, as is well known, we are a strong and long-standing supporter of the International Criminal Court. When it comes to the situation in Gaza, we have been consistent in saying that international humanitarian law has to be respected. All parties must take every possible step to avoid harming civilians, and I can say that I stressed this point specifically just yesterday to Prime Minister Netanyahu.
The Prime Minister also apologized for injustice suffered by families of the 97 victims of the 1989 Hillsborough soccer ground crush, Britain's worst stadium disaster.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the Hillsborough families have suffered multiple injustices. The loss of 97 lives, the blaming of the fans, and the unforgivable institutional defensiveness by public bodies. I'm profoundly sorry for what they have been through. Today, the government has published its response to Bishop James Jones's report to ensure the pain and the suffering of the Hillsborough families is not repeated.
Liverpool fans, many of them young, died in an overcrowded, fenced-in enclosure at Hillsborough in Sheffield, northern England, at an FA Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest on a sunny spring afternoon.